All right.
Okay, so, let the record reflect that no other business was discussed other than what was on the contained agenda. Also, let the record reflect that at 8:09 PM, we are reconvened into open session. All right, so we are going to move on to 13.1 potential action on the personnel consent agenda. So we have these new hires. Christy Toper, a second grade teacher, Patrick Morris, an evening custodian. Margarita Dizzle Delian, a lunch recess supervisor, I apologize. Jeremiah Slack, custodian district-wide, and then there are two additions to the sub-teacher list, which is Nandi Dart Labib, excuse me, and Rudanya Dar Mohammed. And resignations
Yep,
need
you
to be
can-
read as
yep.
well. Okay, excuse me, Dina Mohammed is a resignation for a lunch recess. Nancy Gavoon, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong.
Gabon.
Gabon, thank you, I appreciate it. Human Resources. So we're looking
I'll
for a
make a
motion.
motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Mrs. Schroeder, Mr. Medina, Mrs. Birkin, Mrs. Grove, Mrs. Lebudzik,
Aye.
Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
and Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye, 13.2 potential board action to approve a leave of absence for George
Takis.
Takis. It just doesn't look like that, you know, when you see Takis. All right, paraprofessional at Ridge Lawn. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Mrs. Bergen, Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder, Mr. Medina, Mrs. Lebudzik,
Aye.
and Mrs. Petropoulos.
I 13.3 potential board action to approve a leave of absence request for Raya Kaha, bilingual teacher at Ridge Central School.
Want to make a motion to deny? I'll second that.
Okay, so we are voting on a motion to deny the leave of absence
So
request.
should I amend it? Or we just.
Yeah,
did it?
we amended the motion for it to be a motion to deny a leave of absence request for Raya Kaha, bilingual teacher at Ridge Central School. I'm gonna do the roll call. Mrs. Lebudzik,
Aye.
Mrs. Grove,
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder, Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Birkin,
Aye.
Mr. Medina, and Mrs. Petropoulos.
I 13.4 potential board action to approve a leave of absence request for Deborah Fournier, lunch recess supervisor at Ridge Central.
I'll make the motion.
Mrs. Grove.
Aye.
Mrs. Birkin.
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzik,
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder.
Aye.
Mr. Medina, Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
and Mrs. Petropoulos.
I 13.5 potential action on resolution releasing closed session minutes and destruction of verbatim recordings 18 months and older.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Mr. Medina, Mrs. Lammle,
Aye.
Mrs. Schroeder, Mrs. Grove, Mrs. Birkin,
Aye.
Mrs. Lebudzik,
Aye.
and Mrs. Petropoulos.
I 14.0 adjournment, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Laura.
Thank you. Laura.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:13.